I am here just to give you an overview of the project or program that we're talking about at this stage, the IKI SCP South-South. Katyusha mentioned it already. We call it South-South because we started out in Asia and then it was extended to South America to have the projects or the countries in South America also profit from the experiences that we already gained in Asia. And I can say so much, it worked very well. The transfer of know-how and transfer of experiences was a very, very good part of the whole program. You've heard about this already now, so I can go quickly through this. We're talking about greenhouse gas emissions. We're talking about agricultural production and land degradation. We're talking about global deforestation. These are all dilemmas or potential areas of friction or of conflict or of crises that have been mentioned already, so I won't dwell on this. We're talking also about food loss and waste, a substantial part, and at the same time people going hungry, while at the same time also having a lot of obese and or at least overweight people in the world. So something is out of balance. So this is just to set the scene for the project. This is the nexus that we are interacting, or we have been interacting in the project over the past years. So we're talking about the nexus between health, we're talking about nutrition, good diets, we're talking about climate change, we're talking at the same time about population growth. So a very difficult topic, especially what's the solution? We're talking about then solutions in form of dietary transitions and also sustainable food systems. It was mentioned before, the project is supported by the International Climate Initiative under the Federal Ministry for the Environment, Nature Conservation, Nuclear Safety and Consumer Protection. The name changed over a while. We started out as BMU, the Environmental Ministry. Then it was, or BMUB even, there was the building in it. Then the building was left out. Now the consumer protection is in it, so it's BMUV now in German, the abbreviation. Anyway, always the same supporter basically. And you can see that we started out in March 2017 with the, actually we started out with the 3 Asian countries, Thailand, Indonesia and the Philippines, and then in 2020, as was mentioned, the South American countries, Paraguay and Colombia joined. There is actually now, the Asian countries have ended their interventions in 2021. And in 2022, phase 2 started in Thailand and Cambodia. Now we've got a new country to join, and we're hoping that they can piggyback and leapfrog on the experiences that have been made and have been gained and get up to on par with Thailand, a very experienced country in the portfolio. So we are talking about countries mostly of like emerging countries that are sort of on the threshold of a rising consumption that might end up with, or we are seeing that they might end up in consumption patterns similar to the ones that we are facing here, and that's what we want to basically prevent, or at least to see what we can do about countries not entering on the same path. Let's put it that way. So each country component has chosen their own focal area within the big realm of sustainable consumption and production, which area they wanted to work in. We've all focused on food systems. You can see on some of the posters that we've put up here, there are some nice examples from the countries. Yes, also it was mentioned, please do take this publication. It's the only one that we ever printed in this whole in total it's going to be 6.5 year project frame. So it will tell our story in more detail. This is just, you see again, the countries. We have installed a South-South exchange, which, as you can imagine, is not always easy if you want to have calls between Asia and South America. Somebody has to get up very early and somebody has to go to bed very late or work until very late. Each component or each country chooses their own focal area, but we all have the same pillars, or they all had the same pillars that they interacted in or with. The business component, that was the area where they could all choose which part of the business area is the most relevant to them. They all had a political component, so working with their national governments on reducing greenhouse gas emissions from the food and agriculture sector, and working with consumers, raising awareness, engaging consumers, communicating, informing, etc., etc. There was an overarching communication, education, outreach, and international component that was lay on our shoulders here at WWF Germany and our core team. What we did in this on this overarching, or as part of this overarching component, we basically founded a platform that has more or other organizations join as well, and where we talk about consumption and diets, and especially also gear up to the big international events that are coming up, and how we might want to interact together in on these events. We have published some studies and reports of an overarching nature, something on multi-stakeholder mechanisms, and it was mentioned before, I'm the true cost accounting queen at WWF Germany. Not really, but in cooperation with TMG think tank, who you are going to have an input by later, we did publish a study basically detailing on the implications for the political work and political actors using true cost accounting. So something that that we would like to see how it can be installed and implemented. Leading or going into detail here would lead too far, so you will find it all on our website. And there's our global advocacy work that you will hear a little bit about in a moment. Martina's going to talk about it. We do have a website, I mentioned it. And these are just some of the key principles of our work. So the South-South exchange, I mentioned. And the countries, we've had an internal workshop now the last 3 days. The countries have testified, yes, they have profited greatly from this South-South exchange. I think personally it makes a lot more sense if I have Paraguay and Thailand exchange directly on how they work with smallholders, rather than going through me and asking me, Tanya, can you give us input on this? No, ask the colleagues that are also working on it, and that makes a lot more sense. Communication is key. Well, that's a no-brainer, but really in our project, communication was key. Internal communication, as you can imagine, but especially communication also to our stakeholders, and consumers were a substantial stakeholder group in this. And yes, we developed some local examples, local models of implementation, and through our international component, we tried to bring those local examples to the international arena. Consumer interaction was mentioned, but there are just some really beautiful examples for it, so that's why I just wanted to mention it again. We've worked along different parts of the value chain, and thus we tried to strengthen value chains. The COVID pandemic happened within our project period. or kicked us in the butt, basically. And value chains and the frailty or the vulnerability of value chains was very vividly shown to us. So we worked on, or we realized how important it is to work on value chains. And yes, I did mention the accompanying studies. Of course, the country components also published a list of studies. And that's already it from me.